Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, good evening, depending on where you're from. We're streaming online, so I assume there's people joining from all over the world and not just from Germany, something that would usually be the case at Gamescom, or at least we would get a lot of visitors from Europe, but hopefully we can reach more people now. I'm Kevin Alteman. Next to me is my colleague and partner in crime, Tom. You can't see him. He's not hiding behind the scenes. He's actually helping me behind the scenes. So, so yeah, welcome to the second Gamescom stream, second Liftoff drone racing Gamescom stream. I have to say there's been plenty more. I'm excited to talk once more about Liftoff drone racing, a project that we, the team and I, have been working on for a few years now. It's finally coming out this year for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and I'm excited to show you a bit more of that today. We'll talk about it, show of course. Of course, those who have joined us on the first stream, I think 2 hours ago, this stream will be similar in content. That being said, feel free to join in once more, ask your questions, and if you have joined us the last time and want to see something different, maybe you can trigger a few things with your questions specifically. Before we show you the game or talk about it a bit more, there's 3 pointers I want to give. Again, first and foremost, as I mentioned, feel free to ask questions at any time. Don't worry about interrupting me. We have the people from Astragon who are looking at the stream. They're giving me your questions. There is a bit of a delay for them, so there's a 30-second delay. So if I don't answer your questions immediately, don't worry. It takes a bit of time, but I'll try to answer as many as possible. And on that note, since I'm quite curious about who's joining, please let us know in chat if you're watching where you're from and what you would like to see today. So feel free to give us a few pointers. Then the second thing I want to mention before we show you the game is the fact that, of course, an event like Gamescom is super excited because it's a time in the year where it's not just a product and gamers. I mean, there's a separation between that. It's a time where we can meet with the community face to face, and we love that. I mean, it's great. I mean, we are people who are in a lucky position. We've been able to turn our hobby into a job, and there's nothing we love more than talk about our passion projects with this community. And so I do miss that. At the same time, I would love to give you a game controller and let you play live. Of course, that's not possible. And since this is a console game, it's also hard to do a live demo here on the stream. That being said, we had what we show today is all pre-recorded. Of course, pre-recorded does not mean we've edited anything. Definitely not. We've hardly selected the footage. So what you get to see is raw gameplay footage. And in fact, there's something that it's a bit of a promise even. Often what you see when games get demoed up front, they look a bit better than what you eventually get in the retail version. In our case, I suspect it will be a bit different because the footage was recorded in a test version with some of the graphics settings turned off. And so those will be turned on, of course, in the full game. So what you'll get will look even better than what you see today. So I notice I already get a few comments on chat. So Nazam Khan says hi to Astragon and team. Finn says hi from UK. There's someone from India. Great, awesome. Someone from Spain as well. So this is fantastic. I was hoping to get some international interaction. So again, please feel free to ask your questions. For those, by the way, from Germany or the Astragon team speaks German. If you have a question and you don't know how, and English might be difficult, I'm not sure, just ask it in German. The team from Astragon will help and translate that for me. For the others, I'm afraid it's going to be English or potentially Dutch. I speak Dutch as well, but so yeah. Anyway, of course, last point. Again, that human interaction, I do miss that, and you've been so great in introducing yourself in the chat. And I want to introduce you to the team because, again, there's behind every game there's a team of people. I want you to meet them, and so we're going to show you a short clip of the studio. So this is our building, a very small company in Belgium. As you see, I mean, I say I'll introduce you to the team, but you see drones, so it shows that drones and anything Liftoff related, it's something that we've been focusing on for 5 years already, and it's ingrained in the DNA of the company. So yeah, also very important, this footage was captured before the whole Corona thing. So now we don't, I'm afraid we work from home. And in the cases like today that we are at the studio, we keep a distance. So that's also a reason why Tom is not in the screen. And of course we make sure that everyone is safe, but yeah. I already get a question from Taurus, who was in the first stream, I think. So hi again. Will there be a beta? There's no beta for the console version. By the way, this is Tom that you see in the screen. So now you do see what he looks like. He's so dedicated that he even has a company tattoo, so the company logo tattoo. So, so will there be a beta? No, but, and that's part of the story I hope to tell today, there is a PC version available. It's been available on Steam since 2015. It's not an exact copy of what we show today, but there's a lot of content and features that are similar, and I go into all the details on that. So if you can't wait to get Liftoff Drone Racing on consoles, on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, then definitely check out the Steam version. It's available for 20 euros, which I think is a bargain, and there's constantly free updates. In fact, on Monday we release the biggest update in 5 years, and we have released more than 120 updates, so that means a lot, I think. So yeah, so that was an introduction of the team, but of course you joined a stream called Liftoff Drone Racing, and I've been talking about myself, about the team. Let's talk about drone racing, right? So Taurus might have seen this in the first stream, but for those who joined, this is an actual race drone. This is an old one. It's 5 years old. It's considered an old-timer in our sport. These machines are built to fly at 150 kilometers an hour, sometimes even faster. They have 4 motors for propellers, and that's why they also call them quadcopters. And they have a camera in front. So it's not filming, but so they have a camera in front, and pilot, they wear goggles. And this is an example of that. So these are goggles. It looks a bit like a VR setup, but it ain't VR. It's what they call first-person view goggles, FPV goggles. And it allows the pilot to see exactly what the drone sees. And that's a cool thing, because that's this age-old dream of people of being able to fly. Well, this makes that a reality. And that's super exciting. It's also a bit of an investment and a risk. I mean, these drones, they cost a few $100, and if you crash them, I mean, that will cost you a lot of money. And trust me, if you race with them, you will crash them. But that's why we, from the start, since 2015, when drone racing became a real thing, we started building a simulator, and people have been able to practice in that. Crashing in the sim is cheap. You just press the R button. Some might have to replace their R button after a few years, but that doesn't cost that much. But so that's what Lift is all about. And let's show you what drone racing looks like in Liftoff for console. So this is the race mode. This is one of our more experienced pilots flying in the level called Liftoff Arena, one of many levels that we have in the game. It's quite impressive the way he flies. He would double my time on this track, but I mean, the cool thing is that what he does in the sim and how he learned to fly in the sim, he can transfer that skill set to the real life when he flies a real drone. Of course, you don't have to be a real pilot to enjoy this. This is yeah. So anyway, that was racing. Of course, there's also something called Freestyle, which is just about bragging, showing off. It's this is really impressive, by the way. Every time I see it, I said it in the first stream, I get goosebumps when I see this. I've tried this so many times. I can't do it. It's absolutely crazy. It's like they call it a dive. I mean, it is as simple as that. He tries it again, but yeah, even an experienced pilot can fail sometimes. That was in a level called Bando City. This is Hanover, by the way, another level at nighttime, because each level has a day and a nighttime version. For Germans that are following, Hanover, of course, the German city, there's a famous fairground called the Hanover Messe, and that's where this is playing. Okay, so let's jump to the menu. Oh, and let's see if there's more questions indeed. Pope Francis is watching, it seems. May I ask how many maps are available for racing? Really good question. Well, maps depends on what you ask. If you ask for levels or what we call environments, there's 12 different environments, so 12 different locations. All of these have a nighttime and a daytime version, and these are not just like different light setting. At night we do a few cool things like light shows, fireworks. There's like a 3D drone show where you have a few hundred drones creating shapes, and it creates all kind of extra elements. I mean, you'll see it's definitely worth exploring both. Some levels are small, others also are so big that they feel like multiple levels. And then on each level there's multiple tracks. So we have more than 60 race tracks in the game in the first release. And we do hope to, just like we do on PC, we do hope to support the console version for many years to come. So there will be a lot more content. So trust me, you'll to get through all the content, you'll be busy. But I hope you have a fun time while doing so. That's the idea. Thank you for the question, by the way. And before I continue, for those that just joined us, again, I'm Kevin Alterman. Next to me is my colleague Tom. He's helping me behind the scenes. Today we're excited to talk and show. We'll talk about and show you Liftoff drone racing, a game that translates this rush, the adrenaline rush, and the excitement of drone racing to your screen, and you can experience that in the comfort of your sofa at home, and you can even let your friends and family experience it without a big hurdle to get into that, which is still the case on PC, but again, I'll talk about that. So the game is coming out for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One later this year still. Yeah. No more questions. Okay, let's continue. So for potential Liftoff fans that might be watching now, they will see, well, okay, this is it's just a menu with some UI elements, but this looks very different from what they're used to on PC, and that's the idea. Like Liftoff drone racing on consoles is not an exact port of what was available on PC. It's completely revamped. So a lot of the content and the features will be familiar, but it's very much an experience made to be great on console, and that starts with the user interface. It should be intuitive. There's a new cool soundtrack the sound is very much part of this experience, especially if you do freestyle runs. We have, of course, typical single player. There's a completely revamped tutorial exclusive to the console. There's an exclusive career mode, also only on console. There's your typical free flight and race modes. In multiplayer, we have you can of course race against friends, which should be easy to connect with on console. There's leaderboards, of course. Tools sound a bit like a boring section, but tools are very important because we have the workbench. And in the workbench, we allow you to completely customize your drone. There's millions of unique possibilities. They all fly different. All of that is simulated, and it's not just functional changes that you can make. Also, complete custom, cosmetic items and cosmetic color changes. Like you can completely pimp your drone and make it your personal setup. We also have a replay feature, which is new. Again, new on console. And of course, your options, that's very typical, but very important as well. You can completely set up the game the way you like it, your camera settings, your whatever, it's all in there. I do see there's another question from a Twitch user. How many tracks has the game? Great question. For the release, there will be 60 racetracks. 60, that's quite a lot. All of them in single player, by the way, have bots. So you will race against bots that feel and behave exactly like real players. And all of these tracks are also available in multiplayer, by the way. Well, first thing I mentioned was the tutorial. That's new, so let's show the tutorial. Yeah. So this is a look at that. In the corner, left corner, you see Joshua Bartwell, again, for pilots, a very famous pilot, a big personality in the drone racing community. And he's known online, his nickname is the FPV know-it-all, and he's also a bit of a know-it-all in Liftoff because he teaches you all about what these drones are. And well, he explains what a frame is, what propellers is, etc. because of the customization. But more than just explaining what these drones are, he also teaches you how to fly. And let's see another question from Swing. The question is, what's the maximum number of players in multiplayer? The maximum number is similar to what the maximum amount of pilots in a real life race would be. It's 6. Because, I mean, we want, our main focus is we want a really smooth flight experience in multiplayer. Like these things fly at 150 kilometers an hour. It's Twitch. It's really fast. So putting more in would not allow us to promise that smooth experience. But at the same time, it's also an authentic experience. It's what a real life race would look like. 6 pilots, and that has to do in real life with a lot of signals that are in the air, and that makes too many would create a lot of trouble. Anyway, so what you see here is Joshua teaching you how to fly, and we have 2 flight modes in the game. One is, we call it the assisted flight mode, also again exclusive to the console version. The other one is authentic mode. Authentic, I'll start with that because I mean it makes sense. The authentic mode allows you to fly exactly like you would fly with a real drone. Of course, real life pilots use these type of controllers. On console, you'll have to use a game controller, but you fly it, you use it the same way as you would in real life. We have the assist mode, and that's where we help new players. So one thing that we have trouble with or had trouble with up until now on PC is the fact that since Liftoff is such an authentic simulator, it has a bit of a steep learning curve. Most players need a few days before they feel confident enough to hit the racetrack, and here we want to offer a pick up and play experience. And what does the assist mode do? Well, it takes over the altitude control for you, so you can focus on the steering, on the speed, on the racetrack. And we talk to gamers and we ask them like, okay, if you see a drone and you would fly, and we give you the controller, what would you hit to fly? And they said, well, we would use the trigger. So what we try to do is we map what feels intuitive to the gamers, and we link that to the way you pilot these drones. Again, all of that is optional. You can switch between those different game modes, and there's different options in between still. It's as much about having fun from the start and then slowly evolving to a point where your skills would easily transfer to real flying. And before we jump to the next footage, I think we have another question from McQuad, so I guess that's a pilot. Are the console versions supporting transmitter radios by USB as in PC? Really good question. I did expect that question because it's the #1 question we get from our Liftoff fans. Unfortunately for the first release, not. But that's not... Well, if you're a Liftoff fan, you know that we have a very robust input system in Liftoff, and we do support on PC all kinds of input devices. Like there's... We haven't likely seen half of the input devices that in fact work with Liftoff because we've created this universal system. So it's not a software issue. On console, input is a bit more of a complex thing, and this is very much a question that has to be asked to Sony and Microsoft, and we are in talks with Sony and Microsoft to see if we can support it in a future update. So to answer your question, we would love to. Unfortunately, not yet for the first release, but we'll look into it. If we see an opportunity, of course, we will release an update and support more input devices. Thank you for that question, by the way. So of course I've talked about like different flight modes. Let's show what that looks like, and we have footage from a beginner pilot. This is someone who just picked up the controller, is flying for the first time, which is quite magical for us, like, because on PC if you would give people the controller, they would not be able to do this. And we've seen this happen on PAX East as well. So luckily, just before the whole pandemic thing, we've been able to go to one live event in Boston, PAX East. And we had the game there available to play for the very first time. And it's been a few months ago, of course. It was such a crazy thing to see people pick up that controller and instantly race on a racetrack. And then next to them, there was a real pilot and they were racing together. And it's cool to see that both experienced pilots and more casual gamers can just instantly fly together and have fun together. Of course, a real-life pilot does have a bit of an edge and a competitive edge, I feel, but that should be it's a skill set that should be rewarded, of course. So what you see here is, of course, you can see that's the assisted mode. There's altitude control going on, so the pilot can focus on the steering. He or she can go faster, of course, depending on the setup that you create. But and that same pilot, we also have footage of I think it's the same pilot. We're not entirely sure, but we think so. A few weeks later, on one of our levels called the Green, it's like on a golf course. Here the pilot is not flying with assisted mode, it's authentic mode. It's not in third person view, but in first person view. And this is quite impressive. And that's basically the promise that we hope to make. I mean, it's not a real promise I put on paper, but still that's the idea. You should be able to buy the game, have instant fun on console, and then slowly increase your skills. And hopefully we can motivate a few people to actually get into the drone racing hobby. And after this, buy their first drone and hopefully crash less than people who haven't played Liftoff. So let's see if that works. We have another question from GamerPoint. Is this game for Android or PC? Well, it's not. It's definitely not a mobile game. What we show today is the console version. So what we're showing today is gameplay from PlayStation 4, and it's also coming to Xbox One. But there's also a PC version available. It's not a one-on-one port from the PC version, but there's a lot of similarities as well. So if you see this, if you're excited to try it out, and if you can't wait for our console release later this year, you can already give it a try on the PC, on Steam. It's available for €20. So yeah, and please, if you do, let us know how you feel about it. The biggest reason I feel that why Liftoff is such a success and why it has such a big and growing and supportive community is because, well, we try our best to listen to the community as much as possible and use their feedback and suggestions to improve it. And we do that constantly with updates. We do that on PC, and we do hope to do that on the console as well. Thank you for your questions, by the way. So for people who are just joining us, who might be a bit confused about what they're seeing on the screen, I'm Kevin Alteman from Lugge Studios, small Belgian company, and I'm super excited to show you a project that we've been working on for a few years. It's Liftoff Drone Racing, a drone racing experience for console, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and it's coming out later this year. We've had some fantastic community questions already, so feel free to ask at any time. I'm more than happy to answer your questions live on chat. There is a bit of a delay, so there's a 30-second delay, I suppose. Another disclaimer, the footage that we show and you see it looping, because of the current things going on in the world, we were not we didn't have the possibility to do a live stream from the console itself, so we made some, we're showing pre-recorded footage, but I can promise you none of this has been edited. And in fact, while normally demos up front look a bit better than what you get in retail, in our case it will be different. This footage was captured on a test version with some graphic settings turned off. They should be turned on in the retail version, so it should look even better than what you see now. Okay, so let's move to the next point. So I talked about the tutorial, the progression that you make as a pilot from assisted flight to authentic mode and get better and better. We also have a career, and that's the perfect place for you to get to increase your skill set. And we have a bit of an introduction clip for that. So yeah. So that was an introduction clip of the career mode. I'm happy to talk more about that and show you a bit more of that. But I did notice a few questions. And before I do, we did plan on streaming half an hour. We're past that, but don't worry, we'll continue because we're getting awesome questions and awesome comments in the chat, so thank you for that. And we do have a bit more to show. Of course, there's also going to be 2 streams tomorrow where we will show more about the customization features. So if you're interested, you like what you saw today, are you interested to know more, feel free to join us tomorrow as well. So first question that we got from Taurus, will the community be able to create mods and share them with others? I love mods. I got into the game industry because of the modding community. Unfortunately, modifications on consoles is a bit difficult. On PC, we do have a track builder where you can build and share racetracks, and some have. It sounds negative, but I would almost say abuse that racetrack to create what almost looks like new levels, which is impressive. Like, we're always impressed by that. Again, that's a PC feature because we use the Steam Workshop for that, and that's not available on console. It's not a promise I can make if that comes to the console version, but we will take into account the lack of a workshop like that and make sure that we can support we support the game after the release with a lot more racetracks. We have a few ideas for updates that I hope you will be excited for. So definitely, I mean, there should be plenty of content, and really important to us as always is we will look at the community feedback, and if we see that there's something missing, please let us know. We will make sure that we do something about that in the future. We got another really fun comment from someone that we know, Cheetah FPV. That, I think the FPV hints at his piloting background. He says, "Hey Kevin, Hey Jitag, greetings from Germany. Philip of the Liftoff racing team here. Nice to finally see the game presented, especially if you recognize the footage. So Philip is one of our top community members. Philip, can you remind me how many hours you have played on the PC version? I think it was a crazy amount, right? So some of the footage that we have shown, I think, that was actually G-Tech FPV flying. So he was invited to the astragon offices a few weeks ago to help us record some of the footage. Of course, considering the situation, everything was done in a safe manner. G-Tech FPV also flies, is part of the official drone racing team in Germany, running around with cool Liftoff shirts, etc., and representing us at races. And once more, thank you for that. It's fantastic, and I hope that soon those real-life races can happen more often again. And looking forward to that. So do remind me how many hours you had. By the way, if anyone else has questions or remarks, please let me know. Anyway, so we showed you a clip of the career mode, so let's talk about that a bit more. Yeah, maybe we can show footage. Yeah. So what is a career mode? It's again an exclusive feature for the console version. Drone racing is more than just the flying. There's of course the customization, pimping your drone, making your own unique setup. But there's also a bit of a culture around it, and the culture always relates to history. And you see season 2015, the career brings you back to the early days, the stone age of FPV, and we would think like, oh, it's only been 5 years, but in 5 years everything has changed. And also the way these things fly. So we want to have the players to experience that. People who are new to FPV, we want to give them a feeling of what it was like to race in 2015. So you'll fly with some old timers like the one I showed earlier on, the Vortex 285. By the way, all the drones represented in the game are all licensed. I think we have hardware from 15 different brands, and there's more than 25 frames available in the game and hundreds of parts that you can use. And so you get to play those early days. In the campaign mode, by the way, there's 5 seasons. Each season contains 12 racetracks. So in total, those are the 60 tracks I talked about earlier, which should be plenty. Trust me, if you want to do the whole career, you'll be flying a bit. You'll earn your air wings, I would say. And then of course there's a multiplayer, and you can you can also ignore the career mode and play the regular game modes. And then in between your races and seasons, you get rewarded with new features, new parts. There's a bit of you get an email from, I think in this case Banana FPV, who pushes you or encourages you to do more within your career, your digital career. And of course, as the seasons evolve, if you go to 2016, you unlock new parts that allow you to tweak your drone again and fly with 2016 hardware. And things get faster and faster, so there's definitely almost a natural skill evolution, I would say. Here's the level, by the way, shown in Autumn Fields. So let's see if there's any more questions. No questions. I mean, that's fine. We've had so many cool questions and remarks already. I really appreciate that. That's the thing I miss from Gamescom, and this interaction makes that a little bit, well, that makes things better again. So thank you for that. So yeah, again, this is, I think, most of what we wanted to show today. We're also streaming tomorrow, by the way, and then we will show more about this customization features. The schedule should be, well, you can definitely, I would say, check out the Gamescom schedule for that. and I'm sure that our friends from Astragon will be able to share the schedule as well on the chat. And of course on our Facebook profile, etc. All of that is shared as well. I don't know from my head, I'm afraid. So let's see. Yeah, so this was the end of the race. We'll end with a final show of like the seasons, I think. Oh, no. Flying again. Okay, anyway, if there's any more questions, now is the time. And if not, then we planned for 30 minutes, it's been 40 minutes, which is great. I do want to thank you a lot for joining in today. This really means a lot to us. I hope this got you excited for our game. Again, it's coming out later this year for PlayStation 4, Xbox One. If you can't wait that long, there's already a PC version that you can try out, but I really recommend you get this one, especially for people new to it. This is the premium experience for that beginner experience, and not just a beginner experience, you can definitely progress and become a top pilot by practicing and racing and having fun in Liftoff. So yeah, thank you all for joining in. I want to end with something. I mean, it was our announced trailer, CG trailer. But it's such a cool one. It always gives me goosebumps if I see that. So it's something I wanted to end with that. So thank you all, and make sure to join in tomorrow if you have more questions or want to see more about the customization features. Thank you.